Welcome, Jason. So, I've got you on today to talk about one of your passions that links with two different ones of your processes. You've got two projects going, meditations for men and making meditation mainstream, which obviously the link between those two is meditation, which is a great passion of mine. And I'm keen to hear more about these processes. But I think to begin with, where a fantastic place would be to start is finding out what made you start these projects.
Yeah. All right. I'm from Avalon Beach, in the northern beaches of Sydney, and so I've been here with my family for about 7 or 8 years. And uh, I guess you could say I was maybe a little bit out of the community. I was sort of very busy with work. I was in property investment, and that sort of takes you out of the community quite a bit. You're on planes and trains and automobiles and stuff like that. So. And unfortunately, what really did sink me back into the community was late last year. There were several suicides which happened in 2018 that we were connected with our family in some ways, which then led me to obviously our family was deeply affected by that, and not only that, I guess. We started to reach out to more people and find out more about what was going on. And I think, what happened out of that, we really found out that, there was like 33 suicides in 1 year in 2018. And that figure was shocking, shocking to me. And I knew that there was quite a precedence of depression and anxiety amongst men, but I was shocked to know those figures. And I think in our local community, we were especially a little bit raw and a bit in like trauma at the end of last year. Things were happening regularly, and unfortunately, fortunately, we live in a beautiful part of the world, an incredibly beautiful part of the world. The unfortunate part is we've also got a cliff that happens to be the location where this happens a lot. And so, every time we'd hear a helicopter, people would go, would shudder. And a helicopter followed by an ambulance, and it would, our area is truly, it was really hurting, I think. Anyway, well, the culmination of all of this sort of stuff that was happening ended up in Gotcha for Life and Tomorrow Man, which are organisations which reach out to men particularly to to be able to talk to them more, to be able to sort of open up some of these conversations, to be able to support each other, to be able to have real talk and real conversations. And they were at the Avalon Surf Lifesaving Club, and they laid out 30 seats, for the guys, and 300 men turned up, and wall to wall. And it was in that moment, it was in that seminar workshop that I realized that I had something, or I had a tool and a skill that I'd learned 20 years ago that could help these guys, that could, it was a watershed moment for me. I was looking around the room, and the amount of men that had cried that day, that had just had, we put up hands as to who's cried this morning, and the amount of hands that went up was unbelievable. The amount of hands that stayed up that said quite openly that they're depressed and they're going through massive anxiety in their life right now. I was overwhelmed, and how many men had suicidal thoughts in the last quarter, in the last 3 months. And it was like a light shining moment, Lance. It was like, you have to do something. You can't allow this to happen. And I really resonate with a lot of these men, because that was me 20 years ago when I was 28. I was that. I was feeling, I was in a dark, dark place. And a friend reached out to me and said, you need to do this course. Come with me. You're going to do this course. And that course was how to meditate. And I didn't know much about it at that sort of stage. I was like 27, 28, had been coming off, like 6 years traveling overseas, and I didn't know myself at all. And I was escaping into everything. I had addictions into every possible thing that you could possibly imagine. And it's often the recipe when people reach out. It's often a moment when you're at your worst. That's the point that you're ready to reach out. And luckily for me, I feel very, very grateful to the friend, and I'll always be heartfelt thanks to this wonderful lady who reached out and said, "You need to do this course," and recognised that I needed it. And for me, then that was a mainstay in my life, and it changed and turned my life 180 degrees into a different path. And I've been travelling that path ever since for 20 years, and learning and growing, and spiritually, developing, I guess, and getting to know my true self rather than the ego self.
Mm.
And but I think, Lance, one of the things that I really truly worked out in this workshop with these 300 guys was that these guys weren't attracted to come to meditation en masse.
No.
There was individuals that would go to it that maybe felt that it was for them, but en masse meditation itself had a stereotype and a stigma about it that it was not easy for men to go towards, or it was only for the hippies, or it was only if you looked or you were on a spiritual journey that this skill or tool was for you. And so that was the moment that I really realized that I really wanted to not rebrand it, but realign meditation in a way, in a context that was made it really available to the masses, and to demystify it, and not I don't want to say despiritualize it, because I love the path of that spiritual connection. I don't want to despiritualize. I just want to make that first step into it really easy. And that was the starting point where I came away from that. I finished my job immediately. That next day, I left property and said, I have to do something completely different, and something with purpose, and something which is going to help the community. And it started these two. These two different ventures, and which is making meditation mainstream and meditation for men.
Mm. It is quite powerful that you had that number turn up. The men's health movement is notorious for the fact that most men don't speak up. The fact that you had so many arms raised up in the air to say, "Yeah, I cried this morning." If all the men in that room were honest, I'm sure there would have probably been an extra few arms that would have gone up to begin with as well.
I guess so too.
So there is a huge need for this. I had somebody on the podcast before who he started a non-for-profit about men's male suicide, and he started from somebody suiciding in the property market as well. So that high stress that's placed on men, we've got a lot put on our shoulders of needing to provide, to be a support, to be stable, to keep it together, and not that support of where to release it, what to do. And meditation, I feel, is a fantastic tool for that, because if you can quieten that lie inside that's telling you everything's wrong and you've got to do everything, help open it up. The other thing I love about what you're doing is you're creating a community. I heard a few months ago now a statistic that the biggest prevention for suicide in men is having 3 mates. And the sad thing about most males in society now, once they kick over that 30-year mark, most people do not have 3 mates anymore, because the high school mates have moved all over the country, and they create superficial relationships with friends from work and whatever, where you're creating a group of men who are going through stuff. They're being vulnerable and opening up. So they've got an opportunity not only just to learn this skill of meditation, but they're creating a space that they can meet somebody else who understands where they're at, and maybe create 3 friends, maybe 4, 5,
Yeah.
But there's a good
Yeah.
chance that they turn up, they can at least get one, somebody to talk to.
Mm.
That when that pressure's up, it doesn't have
Mm.
to be all internal.
Yeah, just one comment on that, Lance, as well, because like I think that's what I was finding as well, is that there was like we were awash with men's groups right now, which is great, and we need it. We need men's groups. We need men's, to realign what men are and how we support each other, and we need that, but we need both, I think.
Mm.
And that's the thing that I felt was missing, was that there was starting to be more and more and more men's groups, which were opening up the conversation and to be able to be providing the platform to be able to have those conversations, to meet other like-minded men, which I think is part of the solution. The back end of that solution there needs to be a change to the inner dialogue. So, and for me, that's the part that's missing, or that is the key. It's the key element at the back, which allows the front to happen.
Mm.
And that's why, you know, I felt like that we were in an environment where everyone was running to the front and doing the conversation, and there's not enough work being done on the back end, which is about the work on yourself. And when you leave your mates, and when you leave the beach, or when you leave the community hall, or when you leave the pub, or whatever it might be that you're having that conversation with, or the telephone or whatever, and you're sitting at home, what then?
Mm.
What then? Who do so that's why I think meditation has a powerful ability to transform the inner dialogue. And I think they go together beautifully.
Mm.
So that I just wanted to comment on that as well.
It is. That's I believe it's the key as well. You've got anybody in that situation, whether they're male or female, they've got a voice
Mm.
inside that's telling them lies. And
Yeah.
meditation is the easiest self tool to turn that
Mm.
volume down and change that dialogue and get some real
Mm.
perspective on the situation, rather than the amped up stress that's there.
Totally. Yeah.
So you started this just with the Making Meditation mainstream just on Avalon Beach?
Yeah. It was. Out of that event, I'd managed to. Well, I put my hand up straight away to help out as a senior counsellor with 180. So 180 are particularly focused on youth suicide. But as a result of that workshop, they obviously knew that, wow, there's a lot of men here over 30 that really need support and help. So I started to offer just some leadership type support in just listening, like creating an opportunity for men to listen. And out of that straight away came 3 or 4 guys that were on the same path and wanted to help and and from that, that's when it was like, well, let's really want to take this out of this sort of community, like men's health domain, and make it into the proper meditation side of things. And then, and then it started with myself and a couple of these guys. I said, hey, listen, let's start this thing. Let's just start it, and then people will the more people we invite, the more people we're going to grow. And so we started with about 3 of us every Saturday at 6:30 in the morning, and then the next week we would ask some more and ask some more and ask some more, and then before we knew it, we were 12, and then we were 14, and then we went to 30, and then one morning we had 50 people rock up, and we're like, okay, this is getting traction.
Yeah.
This is getting some serious traction. And so then, I always knew that, even before starting it, I knew that I wanted to do this everywhere, right across Australia. I'd already said in fact, I think it's on my wall behind me, is I said 100 beaches by 2022. I want 100 beaches going with 100 communities that are all going to talk to each other and communicate and create these things, these pods of sitting together, connecting with nature, connecting with yourself, and connecting with each other. And it's really gone from just let's sit on the beach and meditating. It has really, really gone a long way from that to now. Each week we've got a focus. We have a gratitude week, which is week 1, week 2 is chai week where we share chai. Week 3 is beach clean. So everyone at the end we do beach cleans right across the board. Week 4 is random acts of kindness, where you just go out and you just do random acts of kindness that day. And but everything we've given it a great amount of thought, and everything from the way we speak to what we wear to the music we play, everything is being done in order to give it a easy step in approach, like this whole mainstream type approach. We've got flags and banners, and we've got like cool t-shirts. We play upbeat music when people arrive. So, I mean, people, when you come to a meditation thing, you expect this sort of deeply spiritual sort of thing. If there's going to be, incense and music and deeply spiritual, I mean, I'm playing, upbeat type. I was playing club tunes the other weekend, which was quite interesting. But I mean, it's about people walking into an easy vibe and to being welcomed. And we generally don't talk chakras. We're not talking energy centers. We're not talking deeply spiritual. In fact, what we are doing is keeping it really pure and keeping it really simple, and really simple messages in easy language and everyday language, which sits in line with the whole mainstream thing. As soon as I take it into a deeply spiritual path, all of a sudden we are something else.
Yeah.
So for me, this is very, very clearly a first step, a first easy, beautiful step. And it doesn't need to graduate into anything more than that, because it's a beautiful thing in itself. And if people want to go and like do something deeply spiritual, they can out of that. There's people within the court that they can go and see. We've got local people here in our area and in every one of the beaches that can take you through an amazing meditation course if you want to do it out of that. But we're the place to sit, to come to nice and easy. And out of that, next week, a couple of weeks, we're taking 20 guys to Bali. That started from this community.
Wow. And
we're all going together, to go and meditate and do yoga and surf together, and yes, and just some beautiful things happening. We've just yesterday we've decided that we're going to have a patch in the community garden, which we're going to call the Triple M Making Meditation Mainstream. We're going to grow stuff. So there's all these amazing things which have come out of it. We've got a really close alignment with Lifeline, and a lot of our fundraising and everything that we're doing is about them, is about providing for them. And it's one of our big goals is that we want to we definitely want to incorporate a corporate partner that is going to be able to fund and provide Lifeline with more funds and more support. And that's a big goal for us. Is we want to be the community outreach for that company to come in and to be able to help us to help Lifeline, help Lifeline, basically. It's an incredible organization, and we are so behind them, and they're very underfunded. And
extremely.
You only need to go down and spend some time in their operation and sit there for a while. And the volunteers that do this and support people are unbelievable. Unbelievable. So we are very, very motivated to get those 100 beaches and to have that amount of outreach from a number of different levels of advantages, and community, communicating together and experiencing the beauty of meditation. I mean, once we get the 100 beaches, I'm going. I want to take this global. So it's only part of the way here.
That'd be great. So how many beaches is there now at the moment?
So we've got 6. So we've got 6 up and running now. And so our last one was Terrigal. So up in Terrigal, we've got Manly, Narrabeen, Avalon Beach, Wanda Beach, Mooloolaba in Queensland, and also Terrigal. And we're, as you know, Newcastle is going to be an area that we're looking at launching soon. In I can't remember, Dixon Beach, I think it might be Dixon Beach. So we're looking at Dixon Beach being one of those ones that we're looking at. We've got another one in the northern beaches, I think, around Curl, and we've also got Bondi, which is obviously a big marker for us and one that we want to have a huge launch in. So yeah, so we've got another 3. So we should have like 10 by the end of the year, I think.
That's fantastic. And they're all kind of just radiating out from one another in this small part of the state. So the whole eastern seaboard might blow up pretty quick.
Well, yeah, it's one of those things that there's a real process to it. We want to make sure that there's a real solid foundation before we launch beaches. There's a whole process of communicating with the local community, and there's a process of how to do that, interacting with community leaders and council plus also business. We want to have big, strong engagement, so that takes time. It's not just a matter of rocking up on a beach, and so we want to do it right. We want to be here in 10 years' time on every one of the beaches that we've launched on. We don't want to just rock up and then not be there. That's why there has to be 3 people to start it. We need support before we launch.
Mm.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to ask a very silly question, but who is welcome?
Who's welcome?
To turn
up? Of course, the answer is going to be everyone. And that's not a silly question, though, but it's probably the thing which I would say it makes my heart sing the most. It makes my heart burst through my chest is when I see, and often I do it, I'm a bit sneaky, is that because it's a 20-minute meditation, and sometimes just before the end, I sneak around the back and take some video and take some footage, right? Before I wake everyone up with music. And I sneak behind and don't worry, I don't take pictures of people's faces and things. But I have the opportunity of watching for a minute or two everyone just sitting together. And often, like we'll have, 40, 50 people. In Wanda Beach last week, there was like 80 odd people at the beach. And I saw some of the visuals come through from Wanda Beach. And there were families sitting. There was mum and dad sitting there with their kids. There was teens sitting next to older generation. There was mums, dads. There a variety of different ages, backgrounds. People, surfers, different types of people from different backgrounds. Everyone. And I think that is the beauty of this, is that the meditation that we do doesn't have any basis that is locked into any religion. It's a very, very pure breath meditation, mindfulness meditation. So we're definitely not attached to anything. So whether you're Christian, Muslim, it doesn't really make any difference what religion you come from. It doesn't make any difference whether you've studied meditation for 40 years and you're on an incredible spiritual journey, or whether this is the first time that you've ever heard of it and you just want to try it. And we've got all of it down there. So if you've meditated and you've got your own practice, we encourage you to come and sit with us and do do whatever your personal practice is with us. You don't have to follow. It's not a guided meditation. Our process is to sit together. We will give you a little bit of breathing, of instruction, which is really simple and really pure and really basic to follow. And we want to keep it that way. So we once had a man, and he was obviously from the Islam faith, and he put down his mat next to us and did his prayers next to us, which I thought was a beautiful thing. We welcome anyone to be able to come and to share the space and to connect to whatever their truth is, really.
That's perfect. Now, for those listening at home, wherever they are, if they're curious by now, would you mind walking us through the traditional MMM experience from?
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, Yeah, like first and foremost, if you go to our website, it's laid out. So there's a step-by-step process of exactly what you can experience. But I'm absolutely happy to walk you through it. So the first thing is we do a bit on Facebook and Instagram. Probably Facebook is the easiest way to learn what's happening and where it's located first and foremost. I would suggest we've just come through winter where everybody everybody like had lots of rugs and warm stuff that they're bringing. And we're always going to be at 6:30 in the morning. So it's generally a cooler time of the morning. So you want to rug up, you want to bring a towel or a beat, something to rug up in. We've got people that brought gloves and hats and beanies and all sorts of stuff. Whatever's going to keep you warm, basically. Don't worry, no one's going to judge you for what you wear there. And generally speaking, you'll see a kite banner. I've got it right here. You'll see this thing.
Excellent.
In the background. Yeah. So so we've got those kite banners in every beach. So and we're also wearing the same t-shirts. So you'll see a banner and shirt, and you'll also hear music. And come towards us. You'll be welcome. Trust me. Like, we reach out, and you're definitely not going to be sitting in the back. You know what I mean? If you want to like withdraw and those sort of things, absolutely. But the people that are holding the space are some of the most nicest, most beautiful people you'll ever meet, and they will come and probably give you a hug. Ask you your name, ask you also if you've done meditation before, and if you haven't, then they're going to give you some instruction, and if you have, then they're going to totally respect that and show you. And we get together to begin with, just to talk about the process. So generally speaking, if you get down there by 20 past 6, some beaches start a little bit later, but we're looking to probably start by 6:40, and then we'll all head down to the beach together. After some basic instruction, you'll get to meet some people. We'll introduce you to some people, and then we get settled on the beach. We've got some people that bring chairs and things like that to you can bring whatever is going to be comfortable for you, and then we take a moment of just getting like really, really just settled. And what we'll do is I'll put my hand up, or the leader will put their hand up, and then we take 3 deep breaths together. And really like just exhale and breathe in and exhale. And then at the end of the 3 breaths, then we close our eyes. And the first thing that we do is take a moment and take 30 seconds to just ask yourself the question, why am I here? And to connect. So even in meditation, it can sometimes go on auto drive. You just go down, go into the breathing. And so what we like to do is take your first 30 seconds is just ask yourself, why am I here? And I'm here to connect. And let everything go, and just to be in that moment just for 30 seconds. And then we ask people to spend the first couple of minutes just like really being beautiful and mindful of where we are, listening to the sounds of the ocean and the wind, and just turning off all the visual and just opening out all the auditory and letting all that sink in and wash over you. And then it's just after that, it's 16, 17 minutes based on a nice, easy breathing process of being mindful of the inhale and exhale, and just watching, just letting your attention watch the rise and the fall of your chest. And, we talk to people a little bit about, how to deal with distractions and thoughts and things like that. But at the end of that process, you get woken up by music. We come through with some really nice music at the end to wake you up nice and gently. We encourage people to stay seated for a minute or two at the end, just to like feel the effects of meditating for 20 minutes. It's a beautiful effect. So sit in it and enjoy it for a couple of minutes and look at the ocean and just really appreciate where you are and what you're doing. And then at the end, we have a finishing circle. So we get everybody together at the end, and we run through, what activities are coming up. We have a quick chat about meditation. Maybe there's some things that were realized that day, or if it was a talk about gratitude or something like that, we might mention some things. Generally just goes for 5, 6, 7 minutes, and then we leave, and then that's it. And you can most people just go get coffees. They get coffee, they talk. Some people go and do exercises together. Some people go surf after. So And I think that's the beauty of the communication. Sometimes I've gone home, had a shower, gone do a workout, and come back, and there's still 15 people having coffee together at 9:30. So 3 hours later, they're still having coffee together. So it's a beautiful thing to watch.
It's fantastic. It shows that bonds being built and the new local community is establishing.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, it's good.
And so you said sometimes you do hang around and you do a beach clean and sweep the beach.
Yeah, week three, we've set a mandate that week three is that we're more than just about meditation, is that we actually care about the environment that we're sitting in. Look, we're here to connect with it, so we need to take care of it, and we need to take ownership of that. And we've made some mistakes as well in this as well. Like we're not perfect as well. We did a beach clean once, and we were supported by a company, and we did the beach clean. We brought and the company was doing a beautiful thing by us. They really wanted to do a beautiful thing, so they brought coffees for everyone. But they brought them down in plastic. They brought them down in plastic cups, which kind of defeats the purpose a little bit. You know what I mean? But I mean, we didn't instruct that either. We didn't instruct it, but it's a growing thing now. So now we make sure that we let everybody know is that if you're coming to Chai Week, then bring a sustainable cup or vessel that is going to be able to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we're learning, we're growing, we make mistakes as well, but and I think that's the beauty as well, is that we're not trying to be anything that we're not. But we've got a huge heart, and we want to be connected to the earth, and we want to do the right things by the earth. And that beach clean is part of it. It's a small thing. We're playing a very small part, but that small part means a lot to many people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other bit I liked about what you just explained there is how I'd said before about who's welcome. You clearly described there that there's multiple checkpoints along the way, that nobody needs to know what they're doing before they turn up.
No.
As soon as they get there, you ask them if they've meditated. You can fill them in. Yeah. As a group, you describe what's going on, and afterwards you check in if they needed help for next time.
Yeah.
It's written on the website. It's written on Facebook. So there's lots of ways people can prepare if they feel like they need to.
Yeah.
But they don't need to prepare.
Correct. Right.
So it's as accessible as it can be.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not a guided meditation, so they don't need to be led and focused. Personal story with me, I discounted meditation for a long time because I tried a guided meditation, and it was by somebody who was extremely visual. So they're telling me to see this, see that, go do this. But my mind is not visual, so I couldn't see any of it. And I was like, well, I can't do this. And so I gave up and didn't try meditation for a long time until I learned, there's other types of meditation that are not guided with a visualization process.
Yeah.
And I realized it was accessible. So you're achieving that straight up. You're not trying for a visual thing, and you're making it as simple as possible. Pay attention to what's there. Relax. Focus on your breath. And what happens if it rains?
Yeah, good question. We're really lucky so far that we've had strong alignment with the surf lifesaving clubs. So they've come to our rescue on a couple of occasions. We've been really lucky. Last winter, I don't know, someone's looking after us, Lance, because we only needed to go in about 3 times in all of winter. If we've got this sort of solid understanding that if it's really light, we're going out in it. You know what I mean? We're not. We've got this loose term that we call ourselves hardcore meditators, but we're gathering to be here on a beach, and rain itself is a judgment on this being a bad thing. Now, unless it's pouring and we're putting people into an unsafe, conditions, then I would say that we draw it back inside. But if it's really light, like last weekend, we were out here in Avalon, and it was lightly raining, and we had this sort of meeting before, and we sort of had a bit of a So, I mean, we can either look at this two ways. You can either say, well, we're going to get wet, and that's a bad thing, or you can be really mindful about like the actual beauty of rain and how nice that feels to actually get this from the sky. And it was amazing is that the turnaround from everyone, because everyone decided, and it's one of those sort of things that it's a group initiative, and actually the lady Jenny, she was a bit older, she was like, oh, I'm not sure. She was the one that was turned around at the end and said that was the most beautiful meditation I've ever had. And just a little bit of slight encouragement. Come on, and if it does get raining, that is like, then we'll draw it back inside. We can always go back inside. We've always got that choice to go inside. And pretty much all of our clubs now have an ability to go under the cover, whether that's under the cover of the Surf Lifesaving Club or go inside a Surf Lifesaving Club. So, and we're pretty mindful of trying to find beaches that we're going to get that support. And like I said, we've been really lucky up until now, and we'll continue to be lucky as well.
Fantastic. So we spent a lot of time talking about making meditation mainstream. What about the other project, the meditation for men? How does that differ from this?
Yeah, well, it's a commercial. That's a commercial course. So the other one is a not-for-profit charity.
Yeah,
and in actual fact, the meditation for men feeds and pays for the charity.
Yep, not surprised.
So no one's making money. No one's making money, Lance. But one feeds the other. So the meditation for men course is how I learned to meditate, and I'm really, really grateful for the way I learned, because I don't think that I would have learned it any other way. And that was that there was a very strong commitment up front that you're here for 4 weeks, and you're committing to a full 30 days, a full month of meditating. And we're going to layer the process with you. And so we caught up once a week for about 3 hours, 2 to 3 hours. And then you get given the process for the week. And then you would go and you'd have to meditate morning and night, 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes in the evening. And you'd catch up the next week. Then you get given the next layer part of the process. And then all the way through to the 5th week, or so the full 30 days, where you have your full practice. And it was layered like that. There was check-ins, there was accountability, and I liked. It works for me. It works for me, and it works for men. I think a lot of men is this accountability and this black and white approach, and that's what I'm offering. I'm offering a strong commitment. And look, I've talked to guys before that said, "Oh, look, I don't think that I can do the 2 times a day," and those sort of things. I said, "Well, the course is not for you then. There's many other courses. This one's not for you," because I have a strong belief that you need to. If this course is for you, then you need to commit to the 2 times a day. There's a big difference between meditating once and twice a day, and that's where I found a huge transformation for me, is the difference between meditating between once and twice a day. And this course is about bringing that into your life as much as possible, and to creating habits of excellence and habits which are meaningful. And at the end of the 5 weeks, it's my hope that not only will you experience the transformational effects of meditation within yourself, but you'll also maintain that ongoing. And I think the proof in the pudding of that is that a huge proportion, a huge percentage of the guys that complete the course are still meditating once or twice a day as a result of that mandate. And I get them to pay for it. It's not free. And that's also important. Like I paid $400 for my course 20 years ago, and that's pretty much what I'm charging them now. That course fee goes 100% into the charity, which is developing, a community outreach, and it changes things. if it was free, people don't take it seriously,
No.
and I'm I'm really going off a strong feeling about this is why it was successful for me, and I want to mirror that. And on it, like the lady who actually gave the course was quite funny, really. She was German, and like in the second week of me doing the course and training the course, there was a couple of backpacker girls that were in the course because it wasn't meditation for men; it was for everyone back then. Anyway, she said, "All right, who's done the two times a day?" And we went around the group, and the girls are like, "No, I kind of like I didn't. I went out one night and did this." And she said, "Great, get your stuff, get out." And they thought it was a joke, and they laughed it off. And they said, "No, no, no, we'll try to be serious this week." And she went, "No, get your stuff and get out," in this very strong German accent. And from that moment forward, nobody missed a beat. Everyone was very serious about it. So I don't know. Look, but we also like I am keeping it just for men because what happens as a natural course of the course itself is that men start to open up, and they start to open up and talk about, as you know, Lance, like meditation opens you up. Like it takes away all the bullshit, and all of a sudden the truth starts arriving. And I want, I want men to feel comfortable being with other men that they can talk about this stuff. And every course, it is just a beautiful thing to watch. It's like the birth of something, is that these guys on night one are all sitting around, arms crossed, not talking, nobody saying anything, nobody doing anything. By the time they finish, they just open. They're just open. They're hugging each other like they've gone through this massive transformation. I've got guys like tough, big ass tough builders that they wouldn't say a word night one, but by the time they finish, they're just completely open and just engaging their true self. And it's a pleasure. I'm so gifted and lucky to have the opportunity of seeing this happen, and to be the facilitator and to somewhat guide this through. And so that's why it's just for guys. Nothing. It's certainly nothing against women, but I don't understand women like I understand guys. I feel like I understand guys, and it gives them a platform where they feel like there's no barriers and that they can relate and they can open out. And I think that's really good. And we talk about guy topics and challenges and stuff along the way, and it comes up pretty naturally. It doesn't mean also that you need to give either. I've had guys in the group that also go, I don't really feel like sharing, and that's totally okay as well. This is not a counseling session.
Yeah.
So it's not for counseling, but as a natural course of meditation, as you would know, your barriers come down, and there's a natural flow that comes out.
They get more self-awareness of what's actually going on, and then they feel safe, so they're comfortable to share.
Correct.
I'd probably put money down those guys that were still closed off and didn't share. If they kept their practice up, they would have shared with somebody by now anyway.
Yeah, down the
with
track.
that actual realization, or they would have just solved their issue themselves. But that's how they probably share.
I mean, that's a personal journey. It's I think that if you're meditating twice a day, it's pretty hard to resist that. Because it's such a strong thing that it happens naturally within you.
Yeah, and that's the benefit of it. It is a fantastic self-care tool that you might be able to solve your issues yourself without needing outside help, or you might just see that whatever that issue was is not really an issue anyway. You can just change that internal dialogue without having to solve anything outside of what's going on inside. So I love both of those projects, and I'm excited to help make meditation mainstream up and coming in Newcastle.
Awesome.
So if somebody's been listening to this and elsewhere in Australia or elsewhere around the world, they want to build a community together and get a couple extra guys to make meditation mainstream in their area.
Yeah,
And they reach out to you to find out how to be part of the team.
totally. And I think, Lance, one of the good things about this is that you don't need to be a meditation teacher to hold the space.
Mm.
You, um, I've got some unbelievably beautiful people that don't have 20 years or 10 years or even a year of meditation. In fact, they've literally come into it, but they feel like they want to give. They've come for a multiple of sessions and understand the landscape and what can be said and what can't be said. And it's more about like really holding the space and really giving people an opportunity and guiding them through and leading that opportunity. Like all the instruction is fairly simple. We've got a pretty strong mandate is if people want further information, they can throw that through the line. So we can help, people who are passionate about wanting to lead in this space to be able to come towards it without having a background in meditation or being a meditation teacher. We've got quite a few yoga teachers that are in the space that want to teach. Like it's a nice, beautiful synchronicity there in alignment with that. So, and we can do this anywhere as long as we just got to tick off some of the key elements about preparation and things like that, about the locality, the safety of beaches and things like that. We've got to take care of our community. We can't just launch anywhere. So there's a bit of a process as to how we do that. But yeah, if they send me a messenger on Messenger or through Facebook or Instagram on any of those platforms, then we'd love to hear from them. And we're very, very motivated to launch like everywhere. So, if they're outside of Australia, we can definitely like launch outside of Australia even.
Fantastic. Well, I'll put all the links in the show notes so they can find those. But it's Meditation for Men on Facebook and .com.au and Meditation Mainstream.com.au and on Facebook and everything as well.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah.
And so every Saturday morning at 6:30 a.m.
Yeah.
At all the beaches you mentioned earlier.
Yep.
And whatever ones happen in the future.
Yeah.
But they can find all of that online before they go. And if they've got any questions, you're happy for them to fill that out?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Love lots of questions. That's great.
Fantastic. Well, it's been wonderful having you on. I'm excited to see where this grows and what becomes of it all.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lance. Good on you.